Before we start, I have one small request. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. Also, tell me where you're from and what time you're watching this video. I always love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Your support means a lot. It helps me keep bringing you more real horror stories. Alright, let's begin tonight's story. In my college days, I was not very social. My school performance was average. I was not part of any groups. I did not have a girlfriend, and I was not heavily involved in after-school activities. I was not a very happy young man. I am not complaining, though. I eventually found a loyal partner who always supports me in my late 30s. My life is good now. We live together with 2 cats named Luna and Ash, and I am planning to propose soon. As I was saying, I was not in a group. So typical group gatherings were mostly off limits for me. However, I still wanted to have fun. I mean, who would not? My friends Liam and Noah were in the same situation. We spent most weekends hanging out in Leo's dormitory. That being said, we took every chance we could when it came to parties. Most of the parties we were lucky enough to attend were off campus, meaning they were not linked to any of the groups or the university itself. On one occasion, we actually drove over an hour just to attend a party. It is safe to say we were quite desperate. One Friday afternoon, Noah texted the group chat telling us that the girl he was talking to knew of a party not far away. "I always manage to attract the strangest girls," he added. "I am sure you know the ones I'm talking about." Leo joked that he did not want to go to some death metal emo anime party, which I somewhat agreed with. Noah was very pushy though, and convinced us that this would be a normal party. It is not like we had anything better planned. Leo convinced his brother Mark to be our safe driver. Mark did not drink anyway, and showed willingness to attend a party, so everything seemed promising. As we were driving to the party, Noah started complaining about the girl he was talking to. He said she had not responded to him in hours, which honestly was not too surprising. Considering Noah's usual behavior, he was actually pretty upset and said he was having second thoughts about even going, which seemed like an overreaction. We were already 30 minutes into the drive, so we were not just going to turn around and go home. We told him to tough it out and not let it spoil the night. After a few more minutes, Noah announced that Mia's profile disappeared from his phone altogether. We broke it to him that he had been blocked, and she probably decided to go to the party with someone else. He pouted for the rest of the drive. When we reached the party, we instantly knew we had made the right choice. The house was huge, especially compared to the other houses on the block. Noah did not want to go in just yet, saying he needed a buzz to take his mind off the situation. Leo and I did not object to drinking, so we told Mark to park a little further down the street so we could drink outside the car. We drank a few of the beers we had brought with us and watched as people entered the house in crowds. It honestly looked like a pretty lively party. Once Noah was satisfied with his buzz, the 4 of us started making our way over to the house. As soon as we stepped inside, I could tell something was off. For starters, all the lights were on. There was no mood lighting throughout the entire house, just the bright overhead lights that you would expect to be off at a college party. Most of the people there were very nicely dressed, not what you would expect people to wear at a wild gathering. The scene looked more like a fancy dinner party than anything else, but perhaps that is what it was. After all, we did not really have any details about what we were walking into. We did not look too out of place, but the clothing differences were definitely noticeable. The music was also strange. They were not playing dance music or popular tracks or any of the usual party music. Instead, they were playing some kind of dreamy, almost odd music. I am not really sure what type it was or how to describe it, but none of the songs had any words, just instruments. I guess it was not bad in itself, but it was odd. My friends and I looked at each other, trying to make sense of what was going on. We pressed Noah for details, but he said he was just as clueless as we were. The 4 of us walked around a little, exploring the house. There was alcohol everywhere, so we helped ourselves. A few minutes in, I started noticing people catching my eye, and then immediately looking away. It was actually so obvious that I started wondering if there was something in my teeth. I figured I was just getting looks because of what I was wearing, which did make sense to me in the time. The 4 of us were honestly having a good time, despite the weird atmosphere. Actually, I take that back. Mark was pretty bored and said he was going to go smoke in his car. We figured it was because he had not had a drop of alcohol. A few minutes after he left, a group of girls approached us. We definitely were not super confident, so getting approached was a new experience. The three of them started flirting with us almost immediately. It was not even subtle. They joked about an entrance fee, which I thought was funny until I realized they were being serious. They were holding a bottle of tequila, which we definitely were not going to turn down. Without much thought, and not wanting to appear uncool, we took a swig from the bottle. After that point, the six of us stuck together, drinking, talking, and sometimes dancing. It was going really well. At one point, I noticed a strange mark on Chloe's neck. It was a short but solid green line that looked like it had been drawn on with a marker. The line was pretty thin, and I probably would not have noticed it had I not been standing so close to her. I thought about asking her about it, but decided against it to avoid maybe upsetting her. It might have been a birthmark or something like that. Once I had seen it, though, I could not unsee it. It just looked so unnatural and green of all colors. Who wears green makeup? It could not have been a makeup smear. I decided to let it go, and kept flirting with her, wondering where things would lead. Eventually I saw Leo and the girl he was with begin to wander off upstairs, which I was happy about. Pretty soon afterwards, I noticed Noah and his girl also walking toward the stairs. I was nervous to ask Chloe anything forward because I did not want to mess anything up. Despite the alcohol, I could feel myself getting really anxious and sweaty, so I told Chloe I was going to the restroom and that I would be right back. The only restroom I could find was occupied, so I stood outside the door and waited. Eventually the door opened and a really tall, older-looking guy wearing a white button-down shirt and linen pants stepped out. I rushed into the restroom and he bumped into me. I turned around and kind of expected him to apologize, but he just stood there staring at me. It was the strangest thing. He just stood there with this blank look sizing me up. I was about to say something when I noticed what was on his neck. The same green line I had seen on Chloe. It was exactly the same. Against my better judgment, I asked him what his problem was. He smirked and shook his head before saying, "Who invited you?" Not knowing how to answer that, I blurted out, "Mia, the girl that had stood up Noah." He chuckled and looked up as if he knew who I was talking about. He looked back at me, his smile completely gone now. In a low voice, he repeated her name before gesturing around the party. "Do you see Mia here?" I did not know how to respond to that, so I just slammed the door in his face, wondering what the heck had just happened. I could not get over what he said or that green mark on his neck. A part of me regretted not asking him more questions about what the heck was going on. I left the restroom looking for him. I walked past more people that eyed me as if I did not belong. I did not care, though I was going to find my friends and drag them out of here. While wandering around the party, I could not stop thinking about that green mark. I started looking closely at people's necks, trying to see if anyone else had a mark on their neck. And to my horror, I actually saw two more people with the green lines on their necks. They were all the same color, same length, same thickness, same everything. It was scary. I kept looking for that guy all the while, checking people's necks. Most people were not marked, but I kept catching glimpses of green lines on various people's necks. I was starting to freak out, so I made my way to the stairs, looking for my friends. Thankfully, as I was walking up the stairs, Leo and Noah were walking down. I urged the two of them to follow me, and I brought them to an empty hallway so we could talk. I briefly told them about my idea and said we had to leave right away. They burst out laughing and told me I was just drunk. Leo told me I was just jealous because they had hooked up, and I did not. I asked him where his girl had gone, and he told me she had told him to meet back upstairs in 20 minutes. Noah said his girl told him the same thing. There was no reasoning with these two. They were riding the high of a hookup. I told them to follow me and that I would prove that people had strange marks on their necks, but they were not moving. Just when I was about to give up, Noah turned to the side. What I saw was actually horrifying. There was a thin line on his neck, only this one was red, not green. I practically screamed at him, which actually got them to listen to me. I then checked Leo's neck, and there was a red mark on his too. Noah told me to relax and that it was probably just a makeup stain, but Leo started to believe me. I told him we were leaving, and Leo and I turned to find the door with Noah close behind. It felt like everyone there was staring at us as we left, but no one moved to stop us. We ran to Mark's car and told him to drive. As we were leaving, both Noah's and Leo's phones started buzzing. I am a graduate student working for a degree in civil engineering at Grandview University. I actually started my studies a few months ago. I was in a good place. All things considered, classes were going well. I had made a couple of friends, and the apartment I found was priced right. The landlord was rather strange, though. I owned a car and lived quite far from campus, but I enjoyed driving. The only downside was that it was a somewhat rough part of town. But I did not care much about that. I am a young man in my mid-20s, so I figured I could handle myself. Yes, things were a little boring, but I was there for a degree, not a party. Everything was fairly normal, until the day my backpack was stolen. I had foolishly left it on a table, a random lecture hall, to go to the restroom. By the time I returned, it was gone, of course. That specific lecture hall had no security cameras, so there was literally nothing I could do. I was more annoyed than anything. My wallet, keys, and laptop were in there. I had to cancel my cards and get new ones, report my keys missing to the landlord, and start looking for a new laptop. It was a whole mess. It sucks, but these things happen. It was not until a few days later that I realized the situation was 1,000 times worse than I had expected. I drove home from campus one evening to find a handwritten note slid under my door. I figured it was just a reminder from my landlord about something, but I was dead wrong. When I opened it, it simply said, "I see you." No name, no signature, just those 3 words. I instantly put 2 and 2 together. Whoever had stolen my backpack had somehow gotten into my laptop and figured out where I lived. That was scary enough, but just then, a thought hit me that was far more troubling. Whoever had stolen my backpack also had my apartment keys. I felt my skin starting to crawl, and I looked over my shoulder, half expecting to see someone there. I ran into my apartment and slammed the door, shut. I had a deadbolt, so even if someone did try to break in, they would not be able to get past that. Over the next week, I received more notes, all handwritten. They were not long, just odd phrases like, "I know what you did," or "watch yourself." At that point, it was really starting to scare me. I had never done anything wrong, really, but if someone had gone through my laptop, who knows what they could have found. I really did not know what to do. Would going to the police even help? I figured I would wait it out a little longer, hoping whoever was messing with me would get bored. One night I was getting ready for bed when I noticed something. It was dark outside and my blinds were half closed, but I could have sworn I saw a flash, like someone took a picture of me. I quickly pulled the blinds down, but my heart was pounding. There was no one there. Things did not stop there. I started noticing small things around my apartment, items being moved. At first I thought I was just being careless. My shoes would be in a different spot, or my coat would be draped over the chair instead of hung up. These were small details that I could explain away if I truly tried. But then one day, I came home to find my bed sheets pulled off, and my room completely turned upside down. My dresser drawers were pulled out, my books scattered across the floor. It looked like someone had torn through the place. I called the police, of course, but they did not do much. No forced entry, nothing stolen, so there was not much they could do, apparently. I asked my landlord to change the locks, but he said it would take at least 2 days to get someone out. I begged him to make it happen sooner, but he brushed it off, saying it was not an emergency. I felt let down. How in the world could this man not consider this an emergency? I kept pushing him to do something, but he finally stopped answering no matter what I said. That was literally yesterday. As I am writing this, I barely slept at all last night. Even though I was safe with a deadbolt in place, I am thinking of changing the locks myself, but I am not sure how I could even do that without causing costly damage. I called out of all my classes this morning because I am afraid to leave my room. I am still here writing all this down. I am ready to face whoever it is if they come back. I'm sure if they went through my laptop, they would know my class schedule. Maybe I will hide somewhere and catch them off guard if they try to enter. While I am supposed to be at class, I think that is what I'm going to do. I will give an update when I can. I have been facing an ongoing problem that I can no longer keep to myself. I had just ended a 2-year relationship with my boyfriend Leo. It was not a terrible breakup, but it was not friendly either. We had been arguing for months, and it was clear things were not going to work out. So when we finally parted ways, I thought it was for the best. I blocked him on all platforms, and that was that I attend Crestview University and live in a small apartment near campus. It is on the 2nd floor of an older building, which means I can hear pretty much everything happening outside. A few days after the breakup, I started hearing strange noises at night. Not like regular city sounds, these were different footsteps. Quiet shuffling like someone was just outside my window. At first I figured it was just my mind playing tricks on me. Eventually, though, I came to terms that it was probably my ex. The reason I was not really panicking was because Leo was one of the kindest and most harmless people imaginable. I mean that in a good way. Like he would never do anything extreme or anything to harm me. I figured he just missed me, so I decided to let it go. Eventually, he would get bored. Plus, I was already stressed from the breakup, and I had this huge group project due. That project is actually a big part of the story. I was the one responsible for editing the project and submitting it to our professor. I worked on it all night, making sure everything was perfect, and I emailed it just before midnight, relieved to have it done. I went to bed trying not to think about all the other things going wrong in my life. The next day in class, we were supposed to present the video. My professor plugged in his laptop and pulled up the file I had sent. I was nervous, but I was also kind of proud of what we had accomplished. I had a lot of experience with video editing software, and I knew our video was probably better than all the other groups. And then the video started playing, and my stomach dropped. It was not our project. Instead, there was this blurry video of someone wearing a scream mask. The person was not just sitting there, they were talking. They were saying horrible things about me, my professor, the government. It was disgusting. I do not even want to repeat what was said. That is how nasty it was. My professor let the video play out a little longer than he should have, probably because he was also in shock. When he did pause it though, his face was pale. I was frozen in place. I have never been so embarrassed in my life. I was literally frozen. I wanted to cry, but I could not. I could barely breathe. I felt hundreds of eyes on me. The rest of the class was staring at me. I knew what they were thinking. After the most painful seconds of my life, I snapped out of my embarrassment and burst into tears before running out of the lecture hall. I felt a panic attack coming on. I thought about going home, but I knew I would definitely get kicked out if I just left. With no choice, I waited outside the building for the class to end before talking to my professor. I basically begged him that I had no idea what happened, that I was positive I had sent the correct video. He decided to hear me out and confirm that 2 videos had been sent. The first one was my project, and the more recent one was the one he played in class. Clearing things up with the university took a lot of time and trouble, but I was finally able to do it. I will not bore you with the details. Nothing was going to erase the embarrassment, though. It was also clear that my email had been hacked, which was a much bigger problem. I changed my password and thought I had just gotten very unlucky. That is when things got worse. Not 1 week later, I woke up to being logged out of Snapchat. That only happens when someone else logs in, which meant I had gotten hacked there too. I do not even want to think about what they found. There was a lot of content on my Snapchat. I do not feel comfortable discussing. I called the police, told them everything, and to my surprise, Leo agreed to let them question him. The police were able to confirm that. Leo was not behind any of it. He did, however, admit that he posted my private information on some online forum right after we broke up. He swore he never posted any of my passwords, but my passwords were easy to guess, and like an idiot, I used the same password for everything. The police told me that there was not much they could do. Leo was not responsible for the hacking. That is when the full seriousness of the situation hit me. Someone else had basically all of my private information. They could probably blackmail me. I changed my passwords right away, but it might have been too late by then. A few weeks went by and nothing happened. My best guess is that whoever was bothering me realized I had gotten the police involved and did not want to risk being caught. I thought that was the end of it. Of course, it was not. One day, some random person added me on Snapchat, which was not too unusual. When I added them back though, they started sending me pictures. Pictures of me. I am sure you can guess the types of things they were sending. I blocked them before they could threaten me, which I am sure they were about to do. I burst into tears. I've never felt more helpless in my life. For about a week, random profiles would add me on Snapchat. I knew it was the same person, and I never accepted their friend requests out of fear that they would blackmail me or ask for money. This has been going on for about a week now, and I do not know what to do. There is literally no evidence or any way I can track this person. The police do not have enough information to get involved, and it is not like they could do anything anyway. The worst part is, they literally know my address and whatever else about my personal life. If I keep ignoring their Snapchat friend requests, they might do something extreme. They have already hung around outside my apartment. I would not put it past them to go further. I am praying that they get bored and just quit. For any young ladies listening, be careful about what kind of pictures are on your phone. I do not know if this will ever end.